Prasada, Research Scholar in Management Studies, JNTU, Kakinada, Andhra Pradesh. I am going to present a paper. Title is The Circumstances of Human Resources in Public Sector Banks After Merging in India. Abstract. So there is a heated debate over the need for a merger, the banks and the consequences. Indeed, the appearance of the banking sector has changed significantly since the financial reforms. During this period, the country banking sector was undergoing new challenges. It has reached international standards behind many milestones. Simultaneously, there were many crises. To overcome crises, the government has opened the door for the entry of new types of private banks. When the private banks are established, the quality of banking is likely to be enhanced by competitions among banks. Due to its competitiveness, banks in a government sector, their prerequisite to give equal competitions to private banks, and to do so requires banking reforms. As a part of the banking reforms, the public sector banks has been merged. However, the management would consider the circumstances of human resourcing among with other issues, because its effect on human resource is used. In this research paper, going to discuss what impact on human resources as well as other issues when it comes to merged banks. Keywords: merging public sector banks, human resources issues, competitiveness. Introduction. In olden days, the kings collected money from the people in the form of taxes and the frog made by the princes. However, once the modern banking system is in place, money management has hit the banks from home. In addition to the extra income in the form of interest, the banks as well as the people themselves have invested the money and made extra income. The government funds have gradually moved the central bank. Whatever economy the name is, it cannot be imagined without centralized regulatory system. In our country, the central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, has become not just a guardian of public funds but also a bank with its monetary policy and regulatory control. Banking growth in our countries started in small commercial banks. The government has dreamed and nationalized it. It is nationalized on the premise that there should be no loss to the trustness and that banks should not misuse public money at one point. The government plans to privatize the banking sector just like in other sectors. The main impediment to the profitability of banks is useless assets. Almost all banks in the country have this problem. The goal of the government is to promote integrated growth through banks with programs such as public utility and direct benefit transfer, a special system. Emergencies in any sector such as banking correspondent is indeed to consider the human resources and their services, including additional issues. I concluded in this research paper the problem of merging of public sector banks besides the issues of human resources. Research methodology. This paper is descriptive in nature. Secondary sources have been used to gather information in this paper. Secondary sources turned into gathered from national and international magazines, newspapers and numerous websites. Literature review. According to Shalini Sukil, HR possesses the largest assignment to the general public zone banks in the United States, India. This study is centered on the difficulty of important challenges faced by HR supervisor in public sector banks in India to address the environmental changes for competitiveness, primarily based on the qualitative look for at numerous practical manages and secondary statistics. This has a look at highlights the numerous HRM problems encountered through public area banks of India. According to Khalid Razori, debate around merger of PSBs to consolidate them into 6 merge books has generated up. With the latest merger of SBI with 5 different partners banks, the paper makes a case for consolidation of PSBs so that you can lessen NPS, increases performance and enhance risk diversifications. The paper is built into 5 parts. The paper concluded with the creator making an effective case for consolidations. According to Dr. Arjit Kaur, a merger happens while 2 or more corporations combine their enterprises and assets to convert them into a brand new businesses. Enterprises, it looks almost 1.5 years to make this merger show up, as in the case of other mergers in the records too. The exciting study goals at finding the HR problems faced through all the personals of SBIs, in addition to plans post-merger. For these reasons, reformal and informal interviews were performed with the employees of SBI and Kingdom Financial Institutions and Patiala in one of a kind towns of Punjab Kingdom. According to Dr. Monica Malviya, human resource management is one of the maximum critical requirements for survival in this competitive international. The aggressive regulatory pursuits has added a perceptible shift in the customers' acceptances. HR poses the most important task in the public sector banks in India. The examination covers all the important areas of human aid management in the bank. The reason for this study is the find out foremost troubles, demanding situations confronted through the public quarter banks in India. Merging of public sector banks. In the wake of the current social and economic situations in the country, there is a debate over the need for the merger of banks and the consequences. The government has already taken several steps to recover from the slowdown in the economy economy attempts to increase the economic growth from a 6-year high. As a part of this, the government recently announced banks mergers. It hopes to strengthen the banking system. In particular, it has announced a merger of 10 major banks and the creation of 4 iconic banks to have large international banks. Conclusion. In human resource control, we should deal with our employees with admiring and dignity, because in the most computerized manufacturing unit within the globe, we want the power of the human mind, and for the high satisfaction of minds to work for us, we need to protect the humor and dignity in public sector bankings. Human useful resource control is treated as separative elements now, not in the predominative system, but the psychology needs to be taken into consideration once more if public zones banks want to compete with the private player on the cutthroat competitions. HR is the simple, sustainable, aggressive benefit. So first rate, utilize development and retention of the proficient team of workers. Thank you.